On behalf of John Marshall Law School in Chicago, Illinois, we welcome you to a video on restorative justice, and made possible with a generous grant from J. Nelson Wood. J. Nelson Wood recently told me that one size doesn't fit all, and that's certainly true with restorative justice. Under the large umbrella of restorative practices, such as restorative sentencing, circles, and peer juries, perhaps the least well-known is ear acupuncture. I discovered it as a presiding judge at Markham, Illinois, when we were starting our first drug treatment court. We went to the Bronx in New York and interviewed Dr. Michael Smith, who wrote the protocol for the drug treatment courts. Dr. Smith explained to us that ear acupuncture helps people with co-occurring disorders and addiction. And most people have co-occurring disorders. For many people, addiction and depression are co-occurring disorders and are helped greatly by acupuncture. Next, you'll be hearing from the executive director of NADA USA and 3 psychiatrists. All 3 have great credentials and have worked with the NADA protocol of ear acupuncture for over 30 years.
NADA is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 1985, and it trains people on a simple ear acupuncture protocol that helps to alleviate withdrawal symptoms and cravings for people addicted to drugs and alcohol. It's also very effective for a variety of different behavioral health issues that people might be experiencing, such as depression or anxiety. And in addition, it's very helpful for people who have experienced a traumatic event, whether that was due to a disaster or from their past. This is not just a treatment based in the United States and Canada. This treatment is global. The ear is a microcosm of the whole body, and so we needle only in the ear, and in that way we affect function in the whole body. We only needle 5 points. The first 2 points are for relaxation, stress relief, reduction of anxiety, and the last 3 points, the kidney, liver, and lung, are intended to facilitate greater detox in the body. And the 5 together are considered the NADA protocol. So this treatment was designed to be provided within the context of a drug and alcohol treatment program or within the context of some kind of community health program, and to be done by people who work there. So that would include social workers, that includes counselors, that includes nurses, that includes probation officers, that includes physicians. It's a really wide variety of people who can provide this treatment.
It was a very special style of acupuncture that is uniquely American, and that was developed here. It is also unique to both acupuncture field and the medical field, in that most acupuncturists are not familiar with this protocol. Most full-body acupuncturists do not know about addiction. They do not treat addiction. So this is really a specialty that was developed through the Lincoln Acupuncture Recovery Center in New York in response to what was a raging heroin addiction problem. And later, of course, the patients taught us that it also worked for the alcohol addict, the crack addict, and because it is a balancing technique, works with virtually any sort of addiction or emotional, physiological distress.
In my hospital, we have around about 200 nurses, mainly nurses trained in the last 15 years. It's in the moment it's quite important to give a hope to us, the treaters, the nurses, the doctors. We have an easy and we have a quick possibility to treat. And we are treating together with the patients. So we have a participation. This kind of ear acupuncture helps those staff members, team members, and the patients in a dialectical way. If we have more content nurses and friendly nurses and nurses with an equilibration and serenity in her mind and harmony, they are better treaters.
A package of 500 needles costs between $20 and $30. That's 50 treatments approximately. One treatment then comes to about 60 cents to $1. The only other supplies that you need are a sharps container, some Q-tips, and an alcohol pad for each person, and that's it. This treatment is very easy to learn. It's very safe to provide, and we hope that more and more states will embrace the possibility for a non-acupuncturist to be a provider.
I've been practicing this particular protocol since 1982, so this makes it 33 years now. And as a physician, I'm an emergency room psychiatrist currently. If I had just one tool in my toolbox that would help the most people, most of the time, with the least liability and risk, this would be it.
A big part of the problem between the criminal and the police or criminal justice system is the interaction. And they tend to forget these people are humans and that they have issues. And the NADA protocol is something that really breaks through this completely. It's a really great tool to use. And so if people could get more comfortable with this idea and learn more about it, because in my program, we frequently get these people who have been very aggressive. I can just see them on the street, and when they're under the influence of something, they must be awful to work with. But I sometimes see like one of the patients and the nurse doing this. And what I do is I go up to the nurse and say, I want you to give him a treatment. And the nurse looks at me like, really? They said, yes, I think that would help. And it is amazing what happens, because what you learn in the training for the ear acupuncture is 90% of this is intention. 10% is the needles. Needles are an important part, but it's the intention. And so that when you actually are planning to put the needles in, you have to breathe your intention, and you have to breathe and calm down. And so it really helps the staff member change their attitude about that client. And then the client gets an immediate benefit. So they immediately feel better, and then it changes the interaction. And so this is something that really can help law enforcement interacting with the clients or the people they're working with, because it benefits both of them.
Now, tip number 45, published in 2006, marks, to my knowledge, the first time that the U.S. government has endorsed an alternative medicine as a best practice. And it was this acupuncture protocol developed by the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association, or NADA. One of the things I learned is that most judges prefer to have an option that will lead an individual down the path to restoration and wholeness versus being locked into having only an option of punishing an individual, which we know the idea of restoration, education, rehabilitation, if that individual is going to eventually come back to society, is better for everybody concerned.
My name's Trish Cathcart. I'm a counsellor with Start 360, which is an organisation who work within the prison system in Northern Ireland. I work with mainly substance misusers who have either been referred to the system through their drug and alcohol use and their crime being committed through drug and alcohol use, or when they get to prison they identify themselves as having a problem with drug or alcohol use. So I had been doing the acupuncture for quite some time in the community, so I kind of suggested, why don't we try acupuncture? And everybody was like, what is that? So I explained it. I was given a one-off permission to bring needles into the prison. First of all, I had to get through security. who were like, this is a prison, you don't bring needles into a prison. And I was like, well, can I show you the needles? There's no damage is going to come from these needles. They can't inject drugs. They're simply for acupuncture. So the one-off, I got the needles in enough to do. There were 12 guys in the session. Some of them didn't want the needles, that was okay. We allowed them just to stay in the session, be quiet and observe everybody else. It was amazing. It was the first time in any of the programs that the prisoners had actually been quiet, sat and relaxed, and some of them actually fell asleep, even the ones who didn't have the needles in, because they were feeling the good energies going around the room. It was kind of amazing for the staff that were there, that they had never seen it before either. And it was lovely for me to sort of say, it works, you see that it works. So once that happened, it was great. The prisoners then started going out, giving word of mouth, wow, we've just had this brilliant treatment, feel really relaxed. They were coming back the next day saying, I have never slept as well in all my life. And it was like, brilliant, we need to get this into the prison. So my manager, I kind of said to her, are you aware how well this worked? And she was like, no, tell me more about it. So what they did was they invited me along to like a management meeting where all the really important people, the chief executive, the director general, all these different really important people were at the meeting, and I was to give them all acupuncture, right? And I was really nervous because it was like, oh my word, all these people. And I did the breathing with them as I was putting the needles in. I was calming myself down breathing. Gradually the whole management meeting went really, really quiet. Some of them slept, some of them just kind of sat there and chilled and looked around them. That was okay, took the needles out, we had an explanation. Next day, the chief executive rang me up and she said, I have never slept as well in all my life. I don't sleep. I never sleep, but I have never slept as well in all my life. We need to get this out there. And that was it. I was allowed then permission to start training people and to start giving the treatments. We now have the treatments in all 4 prisons in Northern Ireland. The 2 adult males, the adult females and the young offenders. The guys refer themselves to the prison, to the programme, and by word of mouth we now have waiting lists in all 4 prisons. We have the safety aspect in that we have an officer there, but we have a therapeutic aspect as well because we're both doing this lovely treatment to help people. It's the only programme where the offenders are mixed. Violent, non-violent, drug abuse, sex offenders. It's the only programme. In any of the other programmes, they're all segregated out. This is the only programme where they all can sit together and there's never any trouble. So it kind of speaks for itself.
I was recovered from alcohol and drug abuse. I started using alcohol when I was 10, and I was progressing until I was 34. So the first time I got the acupuncture, the NADA 5 points acupuncture, I felt calm, and I was not. I have much anxiety and depression, and that disappeared, or not. Maybe not disappear at once, but I was more calm, and I could receive the treatment at the rehab. I was better. I think it's important to be open-minded, to seek for things that can help people who suffer, and especially people who go in and out of jail in the court system.
But to collaborate with a treatment tool like NADA that is simple to use, it is inexpensive, and again, over the course of a treatment hour, you can take someone who is extremely distressed, anxious, unable to sleep, even those who say may be on medications to help with withdrawal, to help with symptoms of their addiction. The medications themselves can have side effects that make them uncomfortable or dysphoric. It is wonderful to have a tool that can give basically immediate benefit to so many.
And so this is like an incredibly powerful tool that's very simple, cheap, and safe. And so people need to get to the point where they can say, okay, you know, why would we not do this? I mean, there aren't side effects, and we give medication that cause all kinds of side effects, and we do these chemical restraints because somebody's aggressive, and that wears off and they're aggressive again, and then they're even worse because now they require that medication, and then it becomes really significantly problematic. And this is something that has no side effects.
That thousand and thousand and thousand from 1974 have received this program, and it's still live. That tells everything. If I had never received the acupuncture, I don't think I had been here, because then they had given me the medicine for anxiety and depression, and that kind of medicine is danger for me who are addicts, and I would be on the street, I think. I don't think I had lived today, because acupuncture, it's not a side effect that trigger for more abuse. So that was a safe medicine for an addict.
In the 40 years, over 40 years that this has been in existence, since 1974, there has not been one claim. You cannot point to anything else we do in medicine that is so risk-free, that is so user-friendly. And one of the things that we learn is that you're much less likely to see a claim if people like you, if they like what you've done, if they feel better, and very consistently, this is what we find with this acupuncture protocol. This protocol can help treat depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, insomnia, all these things that are the bread and butter, not only in the addiction field, but also with primary care physicians. There should be a NADA practitioner, a NADA acupuncture practitioner in every office and in every community. So the supervision needs to be general, and the access to training and to be able to use this needs to be so widespread that we really have that army of practitioners that we need to address such a massive problem.
And the problem is, all they're learning in jail is new connections, new places to go get it, and that's all they're thinking about. And so that, because this is wired into their brain, they're just hardwiring it even more. So even though they've had all this clean time in jail, the first thing that happens is they walk outside, they go past a convenience store, cigarettes, got to go get cigarettes. They start smoking cigarettes. The next thing, walk by a bar, got to go get a drink, because they have not learned anything new and they haven't changed the way they think.
Of the 68 people I've trained, 18 of those have been prison officers whose duties are primarily discipline, looking after prisoners, just locking them up. They also trained in motivational interviewing as well, because they're starting to take a new approach and that the punitive system isn't working. So they have their discipline duties as well, and then they also take part in the acupuncture. There's also sentence managers who their role is primarily to set out a sentence plan for the prisoner, in that your period of time in prison, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then also, because they're sentence managers, they're saying, we'd like you to do acupuncture as well now too. So it's part of sentence plans as well. We also have counsellors trained, case managers trained, and general admin staff trained as well, so that if there's nobody to do it, there's the admin person who's there always in the office to go around and help as well. So it's really good that we have all walks of life trained to step in, which is brilliant.
Different types of acupuncture, different types of therapies. To me, the NADA protocol in particular is the most effective. I see the results that it does. I see the possibilities that it creates. The beauty of it is, because the NADA protocol, it's easy to train people. It's applicable anywhere. I've done it on the side of a riverbank. Now, how more mobile can you get in that when someone's in crisis at the side of a river?
My vision and my hope is that people have an understanding of what the NADA protocol is as widely as they do what Prozac is. That they understand that this is going to be something that anybody can benefit from, and that it should be available in as many places as people go to for their own healthcare needs. Some of the main settings that I think this could be really effective in, and it has already shown to be effective in, are prisons, jails, day treatment programs, inpatient treatment programs, any place that there is an interface between the criminal justice system and treatment. Addiction is understood as a way that people who are really sensitive cope with a really chaotic environment. And this treatment is a way that that person can begin to build and develop a sense of self and inner strength that just comes from within. And it doesn't require anything from the outside to create that feeling. If we are saying we are a society that helps to rehabilitate people, and yet our prisons are places that just promote violence, we have done nothing. In fact, we have caused more harm when that person returns to their community. This treatment would help people actually create and generate healing within themselves that would have a ripple effect for the rest of their life and when they return into their community, if indeed they're able to do that.
At John Marshall Law School, we are mining restorative justice. We are bringing it to law students who will become attorneys and judges, and perhaps will be able to change our system from punishment to rehabilitation, from punishment to restoration, to bring restorative justice to our country and the world.